when you think about what's happening in that workforce is thinking about the dynamics of the workforce. So again, we talk about there's not enough people, and yet we need a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And a very disturbing, kind of shocking statistic was looking at something I came across where the millennials are they're set to inherit 68 trillion by the year 2030, making them the wealthiest generation in history.
Welcome to MMT Chats. This episode brought to you by ISCAR, with new ideas for machining intelligently. I'm Christina Fuchs with MoldMaking Technology, and I am back for another quick MMT chat with two guests today. Janine Coons, who's with the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, and Marion Wells, who is one of MMT's editorial advisory board members, and she's the founder and owner of Human Asset Management. And we're here to talk about the state of the manufacturing workforce, right, ladies?
Yes.
Right.
So why don't we start with you, Janine? You present a lot of data and interesting insights and perspective about what's really happening out there in the landscape. Can you provide 3 key points that mold builders really need to understand better?
Yeah, I think I would start with access to people, right? Because in the end of the day, workforce is about people. And we are in a situation in our country that there's just not enough people to even fill jobs. So even if you look outside of manufacturing, you looked at all jobs, there's almost 10 million jobs that are open, and there's only 6 million people who are unemployed. So if every single person were to get a job in our country, we'd still have 4 million open jobs. So what does that mean to manufacturers? Well, we know in manufacturing, right, that we have a lot of open jobs, and we know we're going to have more demands on people to fill jobs when we think about the CHIPS Act and things to reshoring, bringing things back to our country, which is all good. But that competition around people isn't just within manufacturing, it's within all other industries. So I think keeping in mind the idea that even when you get your act together around workforce, you're up against a lot of competition, and it's important to get in front of it. I would say, so if I had to make one big point, I would say is take a step forward, get a plan, even if it's just baby steps, right, to get going, because it's such a big thing. The other piece I would say is when you think about what's happening in that workforce is thinking about the dynamics of the workforce. So again, we talk about there's not enough people, and yet we need a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And a very disturbing, kind of shocking statistic was looking at something I came across where the millennials are they're set to inherit 68 trillion by the year 2030, making them the wealthiest generation in history. And yes, and so it's the idea of what does that mean when we already know some of the younger generations are rethinking what work means, work-life balance in their lives. So again, for manufacturers, the idea is thinking, okay, there's not a lot of people, it's pretty competitive, and now you've got a big generation of people in the workforce that are not maybe as motivated to work as some of us maybe were. And then last, I would just say, I guess a point is, manufacturers are really good about technology, right? They kind of geek out about it. They love their technology, and I can appreciate that because it's a very cool industry filled with technology, but we need to also be equally thinking about our people. And I like to say that you can get all the same technology, you can buy the same equipment at a manufacturer, you can get the same materials. The one thing that will differentiate you from your competition, whether that's in states or out of the state internationally, the one thing that will make that differentiation is your people. That's the one thing that people can't replicate, is arming yourself with strong talent. So those would be a couple key points.
And it's the hardest part of any job.
It is a pretty hard.
It's the most rewarding and the hardest.
Yeah, I also like to say, like, you think about variability. The manufacturer is all about variability and measuring it.
Yes.
Variability in people is pretty big.
All right, so you did mention there a plan.
Yeah.
So I'm going to toss it over to Marion. We talked about the actual plan, which everybody needs a starting point, and I think having an actionable plan helps. A key factor is data, and I know this audience is all about data. That's what mold making and plastics is all about, and that ties into a talent strategy. So talk a little bit about what that data means, and then what are the steps you take after you get that data?
You know, simply put, the data that you're gathering is really about your current environment and your future path forward. You have to think about it in that kind of prescriptive way. And then once you have all that data, then you can step back and look at what the gaps are in the middle, where areas you need to really improve on, and then you're going to create action, and you're going to create that strategy to address that action, and you're going to focus on improvement, right? And so, you know, your path forward is arming yourself with the collective strategies, and then coming back to the group and saying, okay, we've got a plan. Now, how do we want to disseminate that plan within the organization? You know, do an audit first. Ask everybody to really weigh in on what's the best path forward for us as an organization. Get leadership to really buy into this and endorse it and really back up the plan. Make sure that HR is connecting with marketing, because those are the two key people within the organization that's going to make sure that the plan is sticking, that the messaging is getting out, that we're actually going after the people. And then you got to have metrics. You got to be able to measure your success, because if you can't measure your success, then it's all for naught. And then at the end of the day, you're gonna really just do the fan out process from a marketing perspective and hit all of your channels, whether it be your customer, whether it be your vendors, whether it be your people. The best compliment is from your own employees, talking about why they like to work at your company.
Exactly. That's the best marketing tool.
That is the best marketing tool.
And especially if that person goes to their family and parents and talks about it, that's even better.
That's
Spread
even
the
better.
word.
That's even better.
All right, ladies. Well, there you have it. You have your work to do. Get to it. For everything workforce related pertaining to mold making, and for anything mold making related itself, visit moldmakingtechnology.com.